Welcome to my Baffle podcast. Let's get into it. Welcome to the wonderful show that is my Asshole Podcast. I am your host, Shaboinkin, ready to give you guys all of the Shaboinkin news that is out here in the world. Nah, I'm fucking with you guys. Good to see you back, though. Glad that you're back for another Tuesday episode. Hope you guys are enjoying all the content that we got for you, all the streams, all the juicy episodes and scenarios, the book that we got going on, all the good stuff that we got going on for you beautiful people. Hope you guys are all enjoying the content. My goodness, this thread is going to be a pretty good one because it'll be a bit of a blast from the past. Let me get my bifocals and my cane. And let's get on into the thread that is back in my day. So, what's a 90s/2000 trend that would baffle the children today? Alright, so I'm going to get my bifocals and cane out and show y'all what it was like when I was a children. Man, I'm old. Alright, so what's a 90s/2000 trend that would baffle kids today? Buying ringtones. Facts. I remember, look, I didn't have a phone until I was like junior year of high school. So for that longest time, I did not have a cell phone for the longest time. But I remember when I got my first cell phone, right? I got my first cell phone. That shit was cool. Alright, that shit was cool as fuck. It was a dope ass phone, bro. I know, and I remember you could customize your ringtone, and they'd be like $1.99 and shit like that, and you can get like the hottest songs as your ringtone and stuff. We did it the ghetto way, where they had the little video recording, feature, and what you would do is you would play the song on YouTube, and then you would record the song. And then you had to make sure everybody was quiet. Because the moment like somebody said something or there was a background noise, you had to do it all over again. So, and so we would hold it up to the speaker. We'd play the song, Chris Brown would play like, and then we would pause it and then you would save it. And then you would set it as your ringtone. And anytime somebody called you, they were like, oh shit, you got a Chris Brown ringtone? Oh, that's cool. I'm telling you, man. It was rough. It was rough, bro. That shit was rough. Thinking about it now, man. Woo! Nobody does custom ringtones anymore. Everybody's got the you know what I mean? Everybody and their mama got the default ringtone. Nobody has like an actual custom ringtone. What I've noticed nowadays. Damn. What's a 90s/2000 trend that would baffle kids today? Thank you for calling movie phone facts. Yo, hey, you kids know nothing about movie phone. Nothing. You probably are like, movie phone? Huh? What? You guys are like, what? You guys are like, what did he say? Movie phone? What the fuck is movie phone? All right. Let me educate y'all on movie phone, right? So what you do is you would fire up the AOL. You'd fire up the AOL, all right? And you'd get on that bitch, you'd find the number, because the number was different depending on like where you lived and your time zone and everything. Because the movies weren't like on demand. It was kind of a thing where you had to like call them and then find out like what time the movie was on. And so you would call them, right? And they would be like, hello, this is movie phone. What movie are you looking to watch today? And then you would tell the little operator thing. You would be like, 300, because you wanted to watch 300 or something. And it would be like, oh, you have chosen 300 showings for 300 are at these listed times, and then it would go through the listed times where you could watch the movie. And what you would do is you would then like pay for the movie over the phone, and then you could watch it. And that's how, like, that was before Hulu and streaming and all that shit. That was like the OG streaming right there. That was OG, like, on-demand movies. That shit was lit. I remember my mom did it once. And, she fired up the AOL real quick. And I was like, the fuck is she doing? And she called on there and she had asked for a movie. I forgot what movie she asked for. But she had called on there. And then she had gave them like her credit card or whatever. And then they had charged her. I think it was like $3 to do it. It wasn't super expensive. It was extremely cheap. And then, she would go on the TV. And then you would pick one. Or you would go to the channel and you'd wait for the time, and then your movie would start. That shit was insane. It really was. Movie phone was wild. Movie phone was wild for a minute. Like, that was revolutionary technology back in the day. Back in the day, bro, movie phone was the shit. It was the shit. I remember movie phone, man. Damn. That takes me back, bro. That takes me back. No kids know what movie phone is now. Damn. All right, what's a 90s 2000 trend that would baffle kids today? A book with everyone's phone number and address delivered yearly. Facts. Y'all kids don't know what a phone book is. And calling the operator. Yeah, because what you would do is you would dial 9, right? So you would hold 9. Because when you pick up the phone, it'd be like, boop. And then you would hold 9. And then it would go boop, 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 boop. And then it would be like operator. And then you would say, it would be like operator speaking. And then it would have like your area code. And then what you would do is you'd go in the book and you would be like, operator, connect me to, area code, let's say 909. And then you would give the phone number. And then they would be like, connecting now. And then that's how you called people that you didn't know their number. So if I needed to like get in contact with somebody, I would open up the phone book. I would find their name in the phone book, and the phone book was designed by area code. So you had to find their area code, like their area first, and then that would dictate their area code. Then you find their name, and then once you found their name, then it would have there, and then you got to dial 9. And then let them, and then, they would tell you, and then you say operator, area code, give the area code, and then you would give the number, and then they'd be like, connecting you now. And then this motherfucker would be like, who is this calling me? Hello. And for some people, if you were calling them too far, they would pick up and be like, oh, do you accept these charges? You know what I mean? If they had to accept like roaming charges, they had to accept long distance charges in order for you to call them. And sometimes they wouldn't. They'd be like, nah, man, fuck that shit. I ain't accepting no charges. And that sucked. So when you were trying to call grandma, you couldn't just hit the grandma button and call her. You can't do that. You couldn't do that back in the day. You had to, type out grandma's whole number. Or you had to look grandma up in the book. Yeah, bro. Hey. That shit was crazy, man. What's a 90s 2000 trend that would baffle kids today? Taking out the cigarette lighter in the car and plugging in a portable CD player, that corded cassette tape thing. Facts. I remember when cigarette lighters started to be kind of a thing in cars, because mind you, cars from maybe like 2000 and maybe like 2003 only really had cigarette lighters like that. Any car from then on didn't really have cigarette lighters like that. They didn't. Some would, but they were kind of janky, and they used like a weird electrical system to heat it up. Before they started to kind of use a different little system to do it. Like nowadays they use heating coils. But back then it was like electrical and it would do it. But now it's like heating coils, and all it would do is just like, Well, in some modern cars, it would be they would kind of send like it's like all computerized. So it would send like a little computerized signal to it, and then it would heat the coils, and the coils would start to heat up, and then they would cool down and stuff like that. But in old cars, it would be like an electrical thing. So it'd send electrical impulses to it, and it would heat that little. It's not even a coil. It would be like a it was almost like a piece of metal, and then on the back side of it, it had like almost like tin foil is what it kind of looked like. And you would put the cigarette up against the metal, and the tin foil would then heat so the electricity would hit the tin foil, heating it up. And then there was a metal plate that you would put the cigarette on, and that would heat the plate. And then that's how you would light the cigarettes. Obviously in newer cars, it's coils. So coils heat up, and then there's like a plate like that. And that's how cigarette lighters work now. But, and I learned that from my dad. My dad was, been a mechanic forever, and he was just like, yeah, that's how that works. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. But yeah. And so, when cars started to have that normally, some cars made it to where you could pull it out, and there was a plug in the back, like kind of how there is now, you know what I mean? Where it's like a weird plug, and you could plug in a thing, and you could play cassettes and shit. That was cool. I remember my dad used to do that all the time because, oh man, woo! If you're a 90s to 2000 kid, you know this. When your parents would have that big old book full of CDs, oh man, and they'd go through their little CD library, and they'd pull a CD out, and they'd put it in the little CD player that they had plugged into the thing. Oh man, it's funny because a lot of people are just, when I listen to like really old school like R&B or old school soul music and shit like that, they'd be like, how you know about that? And I'm like, I'm older than you think. And my dad used to bump that shit. I used to be in the back seat, listening to the oldies, man. That was my shit too. That was my shit. Oh man. Yep. What's a 90s 2000 trend that would baffle kids today? Buying a magazine to know what will be on TV this week. The TV guide, bro. Woo! Okay. So, before the TV guide, alright. You kids might not know, but when you have cable, you know how you guys hit the guide button and it shows you all the channels, and then if you scroll over, it'll show you what TV shows are coming on at what time? We didn't have that. What we had, it was a book. All right? And this book would come in like every week, and it would tell you exactly what shows were coming on, and it would tell you what time those shows were coming on at. And it would show you how long the shows were running, all that stuff. And we would go through, and we try to find the Nickelodeon, and we're like, oh yeah, okay, there it is. Okay, when is Avatar: The Last Airbender coming on? You know what I mean? Or when is Fat Albert coming on? Or that's how we did it. We didn't have the guide button, and not until later on anyway. And then when we had the guide button, it was like, oh shit, like this is lit. We don't have to have the magazine come all the time. Cause that shit sucked. Man, that shit was trash. Because some weeks the magazine wouldn't come. So you just had to hope. You were like, okay, I think it came on at 7:00. Okay, so I'm gonna try 7:00. I'll stay on this channel, and then until 7:00, and then it gets 7:00, and you're like, fuck. It's not. And then you wait, and then you figure out it's 8:00, and you're like, damn, man. So yeah, bro. Yeah, the TV guide. Woo! That's an oldie right there. The TV guide. Alright, what's a 90s 2000 trend that would baffle kids today? Downloading music off LimeWire to iTunes, running to Walmart while it downloads, buying blank CDs, then burning them once it's downloaded, then trying to think of a cool name for your new CD. Facts. Bro, LimeWire was probably the coolest website you could ever go to, because you could get anything off LimeWire. All right, look, I'm going to let y'all in on a secret. All right, look, come closer, okay? Come closer. Come closer real quick. LimeWire, you could download Korn on LimeWire. That shit was crazy. I remember when a buddy of mine at school, right? He had told me, he was like, bro. He's like, have you seen this shit? I'm like, what you talking about? And he gave me the CD and he was like, watch that. He was like, watch that when you get home. And I was like, all right, cool, whatever. My stupid ass went on the family computer, fired up the AOL, put it in the little disc thing, played that motherfucker, and I was like, oh shit, no, oh, Control Alt Delete. Oh, it was a fuck tape, and I was like, no. So like at this time, like porn wasn't really on tapes anymore. You know what I mean? Porn was more downloaded on the internet, but you had to dig really deep to kind of find it. It's not like nowadays where you just type in porn and bam, shit pops up. It wasn't like that back in the day. Back in the day, you had to dig in the internet to find it. And so what people would do is they would download it and then they would upload it to LimeWire. So then you could download it onto a CD. And so when you put the CD in your computer, and then you did the Windows 98 media player, it would play, a porn video. And it was like in 480p. That shit was trash. I ain't gonna lie to you. That shit was trash. But it is what it is. You know what I mean? It was in 480p. So as a kid, I was like, what? Because at that time, I had only ever seen boobies, that were printed out or on Google Images, So I had only ever seen, Playboy boobies, or I've only seen boobs on Google Images. I ain't ever seen a video. I was like, a video? And I went back to school and I was like, bro. Yo. And he was like, I know. He's like, I know. He was like, my brother, he's got a laptop. So, we could take it in the room and we can watch these videos all the time. And he's like, I go on LimeWire and I'll be looking them up. And I was like, bro, download me some. And yeah, that's how we did it. LimeWire was the shit, bro. LimeWire was the shit. It really was. There was everything on LimeWire. A lot of people used it for music. But back in my day, we used it for porn. Yeah, we used it for porn, bro. We was jerking our adolescent meat. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. LimeWire was crazy. All right. What's a 90s 2000 trend that would baffle kids today? Having to wait a week for photos to be processed and printed and only get 10, most of them unidentifiable. Facts. Okay. It's not. Back in the day, phones weren't like they were today. Did they have cameras on them? Yes, they did, but the cameras were bad. All right, they were terrible. So what you do is you go get a disposable camera, and they still sell disposable cameras now, but not to the degree it was back then. Disposable cameras, when you would go to like you go like to a Rite Aid, or you'd go to a Walgreens or something, and you would give them the camera and they would develop the film. Every time you develop the film, you got one of two types of pictures. One, that picture was so blurry, you can't see shit in it. All right? And then two, if the picture comes out clear, your finger was in the top. Your finger was in the top of the picture, or it was on the side of the picture. That every time, if you had a clear picture, your finger was in the picture. I guarantee you guys now, go back, look at your old pictures that you used to take on those little Nikon throwaway cameras. Look at those pictures, and I guarantee you're going to see one of two things. You're going to see a blurry picture, or you're going to see a clear picture, but your finger is in the picture. Oh, every time, bro. It don't miss. You'll get a few. Don't get me wrong. You'll get a few pictures that are like really nice and really clean. But I guarantee you at least half that little picture album has got your finger in it, or it's blurry as hell. Yeah. That shit is crazy, and that's why you got a lot of like old people when they use cameras. They do this. they do this shit right here. If you ever see an older person with a camera, they do this, and you want to know why they do this? Because of the fact that when they used to take pictures and get them developed, they had their finger in the photo. That's the reason why they do this. Whenever I'm telling you, even on like modern phones, you see old people do this. You see them do this shit right here. Even on modern phones, bro, it doesn't miss, bro. Doesn't miss. Oh, woo, the good old days, goddamn. What's a 90s 2000 trend that would baffle kids today? Be kind, rewind. On the same vein, going to rent a video and hoping they had a copy left. Not able to be on the phone and the internet at the same time. Facts. Internet time coming via CDs in the mail. Yeah. He addressed a lot of them. So his first one was be kind and rewind. You want to know why? Is because when we would go rent videos, they were tapes. All right, and you would put the tape into the VHS player, and you would watch the movie. But what you had to do before you return the movie is you had to rewind it. So you would keep it in the VHS, right? And you would play the movie, and then you would hold the rewind button until it got to the beginning, and then eject it. So that way, because what they would do is they would charge you a fee, because they would check. If the video store had to rewind the tape for you, they'll charge you for it. They'll literally take the tape, they'll take it out, they'll put it in a VCR player right in front of you, and if they have to rewind it, they'll charge you a fee just for doing that. That's why it was called Be Kind to Rewind, because if you don't rewind, the video store ain't gonna be kind. And that's just the way it was. So if you rewind, if you wanted to be kind, rewind. That was the motto. That's just the way it went. You know, if you didn't rewind that video, you got charged a fee. That's why video stores went to CDs as fast as they could, because that shit was trash. Nobody was rewinding their tapes. Going to rent a video and hoping they had a copy left. Facts. Now, a lot of people know about Blockbuster. I'm sure a lot of people know about Blockbuster in those days. But see, a lot of people didn't realize that. A lot of people did, and a lot of people didn't realize that Blockbuster had video games. And when a new video game came out and you would go to Blockbuster to try to get it, oh man, I remember there was one time I was trying to rent this 007 video game, right? I was trying to rent this 007 video game. It had just came out. And it was like probably the first like 3D third person James Bond game. And I was psyched. I was fucking psyched to play this game on the PS2. I went to the Blockbuster 8 times to try to get this James Bond game. 8 times, mind you. Every time I went, they were like, oh, you're going to have to wait till next week until we can get another copy in. Oh, you're going to have to wait until next week until we get a copy in. And mind you, my family, we went every week to Blockbuster to get movies and, to get not necessarily like TV shows, because what they would do is like you could get TV shows and they would be there by the season. So like you could rent Friends, the TV show, but it would just be one season. You know what I mean? So we went all the time to get movies and stuff like that. And sometimes, we would get games. And I remember, man, 8 arduously long weeks. 8 arduously long weeks, man. Oh, and I finally got that 007 game. I played the shit out of that game. Oh, it was beautiful. Oh, it was magnificent, that 007 game. Oh, whoo, I remember to this day that 007 game. It was so good. It was so good. Not being able to be on the phone and the internet at the same time, bro, that shit was facts. Because what had happened is your internet was plugged into your phone tap on the wall. And so whenever you'd make a phone call, it took bandwidth to make a phone call. And so it would slow down the internet and you would be lagging. Oh, man, I remember in the PS3, Xbox 360 days, you'd be playing Modern Warfare 2 or Modern Warfare 3, like right when it came out, and you're like, Mom, get off the internet. I'm lagging. Woo, man, good times, bro. Good fucking times. But it was cheaper to do that. That's why internet companies do that whole, it's cheaper to bundle your phone and internet, because that's how you had to get internet back in the day, is you had to have a home phone. And that's another one that I'm surprised he didn't mention, was having a home phone. Nobody's got home phones anymore. You know what I mean? Remember, you would get a girl's number and she would just be like, oh yeah, call me after 6. And then you would call and the parents would pick up, or her dad would pick up or some shit. Be like, hello, who is this? Oh, it's Aaron from school. Is Janet there? You know what I mean? And they'd be like, Janet, you got a phone call. And then Janet would come and she'd pick up the phone and she'd be like, hello. And I'd be like, hey, Janet, what's up, girl? It's Aaron. How you doing, man? She's like, oh my God, it's so good to hear from you, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? Oh, that was the days, bro. That was the days. I remember when I got a girl's phone number for the first time. Her name was Laura. And she had told me, she was like, call me after 6, right? And I was like, for sure, I got you. And I called, right? And she picked up the phone. I was like, oh, thank God. Woo, but she was waiting. She was waiting by the phone. And she was like, oh, I'm so glad you called. Like, I've been waiting by the phone, for you to call. And I was like, oh, what, for real? I was all giddy and shit. I was laying on my tummy, legs in the air, you know what I mean? And, and her dad, I could hear in the back, was like, who's on the phone? Why are you on the phone? And she was like, oh, I'm just talking to my friend from school. He was like, your friend from school? Who? Who are you talking to on the phone? And all I heard was, hello? Hello, who's this on the phone? And I was like, hello, hi, sir. Yeah, he was like, who is this? And I was like, my name's Aaron, and I'm Laura's friend from school. And he was like, oh yeah, okay, all right, well, you know to call after 6, right? And I was like, yeah, I know. That's why I called right now. And he was like, okay. All right. Well, you guys have fun on the phone. And I was just like, whoo! Oh, thank Jesus. And I was like, man, your dad's kind of scary. And she was like, yeah, I know. Because he was like an ex-police officer or some shit. You know what I mean? I remember meeting the guy one time. Dude was like, he was bald Mexican guy. Big as shit. And I was this little scrawny ass fucking 60 pounds fucking soaking wet little guy. And I was just like, hey sir, how are you? He squeezing the shit out of my hand. I'm like, oh. Her mom loved me though. Her mom was like, oh my God, you're so sweet. and yeah. Woo, back in the days, man. Back in the days. I'm surprised he never mentioned home phone. I'm sure it's in here. All right. What was a 90s 2000 trend that would baffle kids today? Riding to a friend's house to see if they could hang out? No. Okay, I'll start my 2-mile bike ride back home to find something else to do. Facts. I remember one time we lived like at the top of a hill and all my friends lived at the bottom of the hill because the way it was, where it was like the school was at the bottom of the hill and then there was like the houses and there was a park, and then up the hill there was like apartments. There was like 2 apartment complexes that were like across the street from each other, and I lived at the very far top thing. And so a lot of kids didn't want to come to my house because they had to ride their bike uphill. So I rode my bike downhill thinking like, oh yeah, it's easier for me to come see y'all because I'm riding downhill. Bro, when you find out that your friends got in trouble at school and they're grounded, and then you got to ride up that fucking hill, that shit sucked. There was a lot of times where I just walked my bike up that hill because I was like, bro, I'm tired as hell. Man, that hill was a bitch. And then my mom would be like, oh, why are you back? And I'm like, oh, yeah, my friend Taylor, he's grounded and he can't come out and play. And see, lucky for me, I had a little brother. So it was never like, you know, I didn't have friends, you know what I mean, and shit. Like, I always had my little brother. So it was a thing where, you know, whenever our friends were grounded or they couldn't come out to play because their parents or whatever, you know, me and my brother would just go to the park and we'd fuck around, just me and him, you know, and we'd hang out. And so that was always a good thing, is I was never like, it was never a thing where we had to go up that hill. But I remember there was a lot of times we went up that hill and that shit sucked. I remember my little brother was always just like, oh man, I'm tired. Oh, I don't want to ride my bike anymore. And I'd have to get off my bike because I knew if he got hurt, I would get in trouble. I not only get in trouble, but I'd get my ass whooped. I would get my ass whooped. My booty would be red and stinging for the whole night. So I was like, I better get off my bike and fucking walk with this little nigga, because if I don't, my booty cheeks are going to sting next morning. Oh, it's all bad. All right, look, I'm going to have to end the thread there. We're already 30 minutes into this episode, man. I can go on and on and on about 90s and 2000s stuff. That is my childhood. Oh, I love it. I love it, love it, love it, man. If you guys enjoyed this thread, let me know down in the comments. If you are a 90s or a 2000s kid and, you know, you remember some good shit and some stuff that we haven't even covered, anything like that, definitely put it down in the comments, or just your experience of being, you know, a kid in the 90s or being a kid in the early 2000s, man. Let me know down in the comments, man, because, oh, it was a time. It was a time to be alive. It was one of those things where I felt like technology was at a good place, enough to where technology was fun and it was cool, but at the same time, it wasn't so embedded in our lives like it is now. You know, because I miss going out and playing with kids, you know, with my friends and hanging out and doing all that kind of stuff, you know, and I get it. As you get older, you just don't really do that anymore. And, you know, we really communicate and talk with our friends over technology now, you know, through Discords and through, you know, phone calls and shit like that. But I always try to make it a thing to go like see my friends in person, you know what I mean? Hang out with them, because we're all busy and stuff like that, but we try to make time to actually see each other like we used to. But yeah, man. Oh, it was such a good time, man. It was such a good time. And then, you know, Instagram kind of ruined a lot of that, if I'm being straight with you. It did. Instagram ruined a lot of it. But, you know, it is what it is. But again, let me know what you think about it in the comments, all right? Let's move on to announcements, and we'll get right into our scenarios, okay? Let me set up the phone real quick. Okay. Patreon.com/Am I the Asshole Podcast. Get an exclusive episode every single Friday, as well as being able to send in your scenario to be featured on the Tuesday and Sunday show like these lovely people did for today. $3 a month, man. Get you over 100 hours of content over there, all exclusive content. Definitely check it out. If you're on the fence about our Patreon and you're like, I don't know, go ahead and check out last week's Friday episode for the free August episode. Check that out. See if it's something you like. See if, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? If you just want that extra episode, you're like, I love the Tuesday, love the Thursday, but, you know, I kind of want a little bit of that Friday. You know what I mean? Get on in there. You know, just check it out. Audio listeners, thank you for all the support you guys have been showing so far. You guys have been killing it in the download space, and thank you so much. Keep rating us 5 stars to get more people on in and enjoying the podcast. It's all appreciated, and it's absolutely free. And if it's faux free, it's faux me. And if you want to help out even more on the free 99 side of things, go ahead and follow us on Instagram, as well as TikTok, as well as subscribing to us on YouTube. It's all free, and it helps out so very much. If you want to catch me live, all right, you want to catch me live, you want to talk to me, ask me any questions, whatever you want. People have been getting mad personal with you, boy, asking me all kinds of questions. I'm a very open person. You know, I be answering all kinds of questions. If you want to talk to me directly and personally, we stream 3 days a week. We stream Friday, Sunday, and Monday. All right, we stream starting at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Definitely get on in there, check us out. You can see us on YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, or Kick, whatever platform you're on. I have all the links down there. We're on the road to affiliate for Twitch. We are so close to being there. And so, yeah, man, check out, come support. Say what's up, ask me some questions. We're probably going to be playing a scary game. We'll probably be chit-chatting about stupid shit, whatever it is, man. We go bananas in there, I ain't going to lie. We really do. It's a good time. It's a good time. So come on by, hang out, all that good stuff. Without further ado, though, we are going to get into today's scenario. And our first one is boyfriend jokes specific jokes with his best friend. Am I overreacting? Okay, let's dive into it. Yesterday, I became mad over one situation. My boyfriend had a phone call with his friend, and they were joking about sex between them two. Jokes like, my butt is shaved, can I come over? I understand if there were like one or two jokes, but having almost all your conversations about wanting to fuck is, as I believe, so disrespectful, especially when someone who you actually fuck, me, listens to them. I had a talk with my boyfriend and he became somewhat angry. He asked me why I did not tell him earlier, to which I replied that I had to take time to figure things out. He does not see anything wrong with these jokes, yet he asked for forgiveness, but his words were so dry. Just sorry, but I feel hurt. I don't want to lay with him in one bed. We also have vacation in a week and I want to cancel everything now. So, okay. If this friend is a girl, then I would understand your concern. Okay? If this best friend that he's got is a girl, I understand your concern. Because that's kind of crazy. If this best friend is a dude, though, then yes, you're overreacting. Because that's how dudes are. All right? For me and honest with you, that's how dudes are, bro. The thing is with guys, when we're friends, it's one of those things where it's like, unless you're throwing those innuendo, like, gay jokes to your homie, you're not really friends. Let's be honest. Like guys, we understand that it's like, if I'm not throwing gay jokes at you to the point where I'm just like, oh yeah, damn, nice ass, baby, I'd let you smash. If we're not doing shit like that to a dude, we're not really that guy's friend. All right. We might be acquaintances with that guy. We might be cool with that guy, but he's not our friend. Now, the only time a dude is actually another dude's friend is if they are throwing those kind of gay insults in there. It just happens naturally. It really does. I be doing it all the time. I be smacking my boys' booties. I be like, what up, dog? Woo! Look at that dumpy out here, man. That shit. You been squatting in the gym, son? They do the same thing to me. So it's one of those things. But now, again, if like I said, if it's a dude, you're overreacting because that's just how dudes are. All right, that's how your man has a fucking real best friend, and you shouldn't be mad over that. That's just how they're gonna be. Yeah, it really is. Okay. Now, if this is a girl that is a friend, that right there, okay, this is where you need to be like, look, bro, there's got to be a line drawn. All right, there's got to be a line drawn because this can go from we're just friends to oops, I fell in her vagina. You know what I mean? Type deal, situation. So my advice to you on that, like I said, is if this friend is a girl, again, you didn't really mention if it was a girl or a guy, so I'm kind of taking it from both angles. So if this is a girl, you draw the line and say, hey, if you cross this line, I don't think this relationship is going to work out. Just because, again, you're going to feel uncomfortable. You're going to feel like this and that. It might get to a point, like if you're too lax on this, it might get to a point where, oops, I slipped and fell in her vagina. And it's not going to be good for you. All right? It's not going to be good for you at all. So The best thing you can do is, again, draw that line and say, hey, this is the line that's been drawn. You cross that line, I don't want to be in this relationship anymore. Because that is you putting a boundary down that, I would hope that he would respect. You know what I mean? You're not telling him to stop talking to this person. You're just putting a boundary down. Like, hey, you can talk to this person. It's cool. But put a boundary down. Again, if it's a guy, you're overreacting. Okay? If it's a guy, you're overreacting. Just because that is how us guys talk to each other. It is. That's just how it is. It's how me and my best friends talk. It's how many guys and their best friends talk. It's just the way it is. It's what we guys have a thing where it's like, if there isn't a rumor about you guys being gay, are you guys really friends? It's just the way it goes. So like I said, if it's a girl, set that boundary and let him know, hey, if you cross that boundary, we out. I'm out of here. If it's a dude, relax. All right, relax. It's fine. You're good. You're okay. You're okay. Everything's fine. So, again, just whichever scenario it falls into. Again, I don't know if it's a guy or a girl. So, you guys let me know what you think about it in the comments, though. Am I wrong? Am I right? Do you have a third situation? Just let me know. All right. Would I be the asshole if I reject a guy harshly because of an unwelcome love letter? Whew, I ain't gonna lie to you. Some of you girls do have to kind of be harsh. Because some guys, they cling on to like the smallest little thread of hope. You say, oh, maybe. They're like, maybe. Yes, let's go. Okay, all right. Woo! If I put enough time in, effort in, that maybe is going to turn into a yes. How do I know this? I was that guy. All right, I won't lie. I was that guy. I'm not that guy anymore, but I used to be that guy, 100%. For context, 20 female, first met this guy, 31 male, when I was 18 on a trip with my friend and her family. This guy is my friend's older brother's best friend. Okay, so her friend's older brother's best friend. Okay. Well, one of the days my friend left me alone with her mom and her brother's wife. Her mom started asking me what I thought of the guy. I said he was pretty chill so far on the trip. She then asked if I thought he was cute. I said for his age, he's okay. She then mentioned that she knew the age gap might be a deal breaker for me. That's when I found out we had an 11-year age gap. My friend's mom wouldn't stop going on about how bad she feels that he's only had one girlfriend and how she treated him so bad and how a guy his age needs to settle down. She then starts getting into drawing comparisons between me and him. Basically that we're both quiet. I made it clear that the age gap makes me uncomfortable, but she insisted it could work out because she has a 10-year age gap in her marriage. She finally left the conversation as it was and accepted that I wasn't going to change my mind. The following year's trip, I get asked again if I was still against the idea. I still said no thank you and that I'm still uncomfortable. Well, this year is now the third year I've been on a trip with him. Thinking everyone has finally stopped trying to force a connection between us, I could tell throughout this trip that he was attempting at flirting with me, so I purposely ignored him, didn't look at him, and gave short, blunt answers. I came home from the trip a day later and get a letter dropped off by my friend's mom. It was a love letter from the guy. Within the letter, he mentioned that the last year my friend's mom drove him to my house to show him where I live. While we were on the trip, he found out both places I work, along with my social media accounts. In the letter, he admitted to stalking my TikTok. The mom kind of forced this stalkery, if I'm being honest with you. Let's not beat on the guy too much, okay? Let's not call him a creep instantly. The mom was kind of pushing this. She was like, oh, this is where she lives. Oh, this is where she works. This is her social medias. Like, okay, let's not creep on the guy. Okay. I wouldn't say he's a creep. I wouldn't call him a creep because this information has kind of just been forced on it. And I think that's why he put it in the letter. Like, hey, the only reason I know these things is because the mom was kind of pushing this information on me. Okay. I don't want you to think I'm a creep or I've been stalking you or weird, anything like that. Yeah, I was looking through your TikTok a little bit, just because I wanted to see what it was about. You know what I mean? I wanted to get to know you a little more. So, like I said, I don't think he's a creep just because the mom was kind of like, oh, this is where she lives. Oh, this is where she works. This is her social media. You know what I mean? That's just a little weird. Let's see. Okay. Along with claiming that the connection we had going on was like a silly little game and how the trip should have ended with a hug. I've never held an actual conversation. He's too awkward and shy. So now I have to give a response. Everyone tells me to be nice to him and spare his feelings because he's just too nice. But personally, I find this whole situation creepy and want to write a strongly worded letter. Here's the intro to the rejection. If you're not sitting when you read this, I suggest you find a chair right now because this is going to be rough to hear. We met when I was 18, barely legal, and I think if those people could introduce us earlier, they definitely would have tried. I told them then I did not like you, but I was trying to be nice about the age gap since they were guilt tripping me into thinking it's okay because they have the same age gap. When the younger person is older, it's a bit more okay. But when the younger person is still a teenager, that's very weird, disgusting, and redacted, I guess. Okay. Obviously, stronger language would be used, but I want to be mindful here. So would I be the asshole if I responded bluntly and mean like this instead of letting him down nicely? No, I don't think you would be the asshole at all because it's one of those things where he has been... this idea of you guys possibly being a thing and being together has been so drilled and installed in his head from them. You know what I mean? I don't think this is his doing. I think it's, the moms and all them, they're saying this shit of, oh my God, you guys would be so cute together and you guys could do this together and you guys are so quiet and you guys make a cute couple and what if you guys had babies and this and that, blah, 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 blah. This has been drilled and installed in his head. And it's not his fault. He's not, partaking in this as much as we kind of think he is, just because he's kind of looking at it like, yeah, she's cute and yeah, she's cool, but, I don't know if she would like me like that and so on and so forth. And so he kind of looks at it like it's a thing where I like the girl, but I'm not going to be aggressive about it or anything like that. Not like how the moms are, And so I think that's why he wrote a letter to kind of just be like, look, I'm going to let you know my feelings and you can kind of openly respond when you're ready. Now, I don't think you were rude in what you wrote. Of course, you don't have to be like extremely rude about it. Just be straightforward and just be honest. Be straightforward and honest and let him know, hey, I don't like you that way. I don't see you that way. I don't think I ever will because of the age gap. I understand that, they were trying to, talk us into doing it, but it's just not going to happen. It's never going to happen. I'm sorry. And just be straightforward and be blunt with the guy, because the fact that you're being straightforward and blunt just it doesn't open up the maybe, it doesn't open up there's a chance, it doesn't open up any of this. It's not making him think like, dang, what did I do wrong and what is this and that. Like you just explain to him why it is you don't like him, and you just say, hey, this is what it is. They tried to, talk me into it all like I'm not feeling it. I don't want it. There's no disrespect to you. I'm sure you're a great guy, but I'm just not into it. And just be honest with him. Just be 100% honest with you. I think a lot of girls, they play the nice card, and then the dude is sitting there thinking, oh, there's still a chance, and maybe, and oh, I hope that she likes me, and oh, I'm going to try this gesture, and oh, I'm going to do this grand thing, and hopefully it works, and that's how you get that, and you don't want that. And so just be straight honest with them. Let them know. You ain't got to be a bitch about it, but just be direct and be blunt. That's how I would say that, So, you guys let me know what you think about it in the comments, though. All right? Let's get on to our next one. Am I the asshole for forgetting to tell my boyfriend I used to have an STD 6 years ago? That is something you probably should have told him in the beginning. That way, he can at least be like, oh, shit, I don't know. We'll see. My boyfriend, 23 male, and I, 24 female, broke up a few weeks ago because I forgot to tell him that I got an STD 6 years ago. We had been dating since mid-December, and he asked to be exclusive boyfriends in mid-March. Oh, this is two dudes. Oh, okay. In mid-March, when the topic of STDs first came up in early January, I told him that I did not have any STDs and that I am on Prep P or Pre-P, something like that. He told me that he was clean, but not on Pre-P. We continued to use protection almost every time. Fast forward to mid-June, my boyfriend and I were relaxing on my couch and watching TV when an HIV testing commercial came on. It occurred to me that I'd never asked him when the last time he got tested. He told me the last time he had gotten tested was 3 years ago, but he said that it wasn't a big deal because he hadn't been active since his last relationship 3 years ago. This immediately alarmed me because not being tested for 3 years is a very long time for a gay/bi man. And he told me that he'd fool around with guys in college after he and his ex-girlfriend broke up. He is bi, and I'm not the first guy he's ever been in a relationship with. I explained to him that I get tested every 3 to 6 months. I asked him if he'd be okay with me scheduling a testing for the both of us so we can both get our statuses together. He said yes without any hesitation. Fast forward a few days. While we were on the phone, I began to think out loud about the implications of him not knowing his status and him know that we'll have to reduce private parts, okay? Contact until we get the results from the testing. He seemed all right with everything. Then I remembered that 6 years ago, my ex-boyfriend cheated on me and gave me an STD. I told him this immediately as I remembered. I also explained to him that I got treated and was cured. Antibiotics kill bacteria as soon as I found out, and that I didn't have it anymore. So there's absolutely no risk of transmission. However, I continue explaining that the body continues making antibodies for a very long time, sometimes even for a lifetime. And because STD testing looks for antibodies, I'll always test positive for this even though I don't have it. You don't know whether or not you get reinfected by looking at the concentration of the antibodies. The result/reality has been a part of my testing history for so long that I don't think about it anymore. I look at my antibody levels, and if they don't increase, that means I'm clean. My antibodies have never increased since I was cured, though I had recently tested negative for this STI in December. I assumed that my body has finally stopped making the antibodies and that I could finally forget it all for good. All right, am I the asshole for forgetting to tell my boyfriend I used to have an STD? Look. You may not like the answer, but yes. Reason being is because you get tested every 3 to 6 months. So the fact that you get tested every 3 to 6 months, how do you forget? You know what I mean? How do you forget? If you get tested every 3 to 6 months, you still have the antibodies, so it comes up positive occasionally. but it's a thing where it comes up positive, but as long as you're below a certain antibody threshold, you don't have it. You would think that that would remind you every 3 to 6 months that, hey, I've gotten a, little STD or a little STI back then, and it was because of an ex-boyfriend cheating on me, and he gave it to me and this and that. Like, I would have thought you would have mentioned that in the beginning of the relationship, just because you do get tested so often, so you are reminded that this happened and that you have this. I just think it was a thing where the relationship was too early. It was early in the relationship cycle, and you didn't really want to ruin the relationship. So you were like, he doesn't really have to know because I don't technically have it anymore and all that kind of stuff. I think it was a thing that you just kind of neglected until you didn't want to neglect it anymore, because you kind of, now that you're kind of getting on him about it, you kind of felt bad that, oh shit, I don't want to be a hypocrite and get on my boyfriend about it when I have a little STD secret of myself. So I should come clean, so that way, he feels comfortable about coming clean, about these kind of things and stuff like that. And I think that's, where you kind of went wrong. It was like, if you would have came clean about it in the beginning, then I think, this situation would have went a little better, because it was just, you could have just reminded him like, babe, remember when I told you back in the beginning of the relationship that I got an STD from an ex cheating and all that kind of stuff. I just want to make sure you're good. I'll get tested with you and all that kind of stuff. And I think the relationship would have went a little differently, just because you already told him that and you're just kind of reiterating that. So, but I think it's a thing where the relationship was good. You didn't want to fuck it up. And so you were like, I just won't tell him. And then now you're getting on him about that, but you're like, I don't want to be a hypocrite, so let me go ahead and just tell him. That way, it's like, hey, I'm opening up about this. Like, you should be able to be open up about it too, So, yeah, for that reason, I do think you're the asshole, because it's like, you should have told him in the beginning. Because if you would have told him in the beginning, you guys probably would have broke up then, and that would have sucked, but it wouldn't have been a thing where you guys would have gotten as far as you did and then break up, and the relationship hurts more and all that kind of stuff. It would just kind of be like, well, okay, I told him the truth and he didn't like it, and so I just got to move on. Either that, or you could have just not said anything about the 6 years ago and just left that buried under forever and taken that to your grave. Like you said, it was a thing in your past and you could have just forgot about it. You could have done that. But I thoroughly think that that's what happened. That's what, went down. It was the beginning of the relationship. You didn't want to rock the boat with this information, so you decided to withhold it until it kind of became relevant. So, and it's a thing where it's like, I understand, because I know I would feel some type of way. Like if a girl told me, oh yeah, I got an STD 6 years ago and we've been dating for like a couple years. I'm like, bro, why didn't you tell me that? Because for me, it's like, I'm glad that you don't have the STD. That's fantastic. It's the fact that you withheld this information from me for so long. And it makes me feel like, damn, can I trust you to like tell me things? Or am I going to have this feeling of like you are hiding things from me all the time? You see what I mean? And that's how the other person comes at it. Like, damn, it makes me feel like you're hiding things from me, versus, being open and honest with me about things that have happened to you and things that are very concerning as well. So again, that's why I think you're the asshole about it. You guys let me know what you think about it in the comments, as well as everything we went over today. All the scenarios in the thread. Again, patreon.com/Am I the Asshole Podcast. $3 a month. Get you an exclusive episode every single Friday, as well as being able to send in your scenario to be featured on the Tuesday and Sunday show like these lovely people did for today. We're going to be, I'll see you guys on Thursday for more chapters of our beautiful book. Oh, that book is getting juicy, and it's getting juicy quick. I'm excited about it. They're on the precipice of fucking. The tension is juicy and it's beautiful, and I'm here for it. And I know you guys are here for it too, you little dirty bastards. But yeah, so I'm excited for what we got going on. I will see you guys on Thursday. Get on the Patreon. Join the Discord. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram. Subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Twitch. All that good stuff. Love you guys, and peace.